Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast with Leslie Kane, the podcast for women entrepreneurs who are ready to start a business, get unstuck, or grow with more courage, clarity, and confidence. If you're feeling scattered, overwhelmed, or unsure where to begin, this is a space for practical business coaching, simple systems, and real stories of courage. You'll get tools for support and the permission to believe you can take action today, not someday. I'm your host, Leslie Kane. I'm a courage coach, obviously the podcast host, and founder of the Why Not Today movement. I created this podcast in honor of my dad, Patrick Kane, whose favorite phrase was, "Why not today?" A question that has become my mantra and mission. For over 30 years, I've encouraged and supported women in business, providing tools and systems they need to take courageous, confident action in life and work. That's the thread that runs through everything I do, helping women believe in themselves, make bold moves, and create growth that feels aligned and doable. Each week, you'll hear a solo episode like from myself, where I'll coach you through some common business challenges, and then we'll have guest interviews that go beyond inspiration to teach what actually works. Whether you're launching something new or navigating a pivot, you'll leave each episode with a clear next step and reminder that you're not alone. So let's dive into Why Not Today, the podcast that helps you grow with courage, not chaos. And this is a solo episode with me today. And I really want to share kind of where we're going with this podcast and give you some guidance and support and some ideas to help you to obviously grow. So, let's dive in. Where do I want to start with this? So, in this episode, as I said, it's going to be a little different. It's personal, it's purposeful, and it's the beginning of a new chapter for this podcast. I went to an amazing training event, not really training, but it was called a Clarity Weekend a couple weeks ago with the amazing Sam Horn, who's been a guest. And we kind of gave me some new positioning and through line and I guess, journey that we're going to go on with this. So this podcast, um, as I said, it's going to be a little different, and I'm excited to share what's happening. So lately, there's been a recurring theme showing up everywhere in conversations, books, podcasts, even chance encounters. A few weeks ago, someone recommended the book From Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. And then I listened to the interview with Oprah Winfrey, and it hit me in the heart. The whole idea is that the second half of life isn't about winding down, it's about stepping into something new with wisdom, clarity, and purpose. It's about asking the big question, what's next? And the truth is, it's where I am right now, too. I'm pivoting. I'm redefining what success looks like at this stage of my life. And I've been hearing the same things with so many women around me, women who feel like they're being put out to pasture, somebody said the other day, or unsure what the next chapter should be. Deep down, we know that we're not done. We're just getting started. So, the heart behind Why Not Today, let me tell you where it all started. And if you've listened to this for a while, you kind of know. But Why Not Today isn't just a catchy phrase, it's deeply personal. It was something my dad, Patrick Kane, used to say. And don't really remember per se those exact words. And, but that's how he lived his life. And several years ago, after he passed away, somebody posted something on social media and he had to have some surgery and wore an eye patch. And if you know the logo and you know the story, that was my dad. He had an eye patch and a handlebar mustache, which I could share that story another day. But this gentleman posted a picture of himself with the eye patch and said every morning he got up and thought of his old friend Pat Kane and talked about all the things my dad accomplished. And then he said, and we both said, why not today? And I just knew that was the name of my podcast. So I started. So, and I've always wanted to share a story, carry on his legacy. Actually, when he passed away, I met with lawyers to start a nonprofit, but that was just way too hard. And that was not where I wanted to be. So my dad was a small business owner. He showed me that you could own your time, be present for your family, make an impact. He wasn't just running a business, he was building a community. He helped start the Reston Chamber of Commerce. At that time, it was called Reston Board of Commerce. He founded a nonprofit called Gabriel Homes, which is group homes that for adults with disabilities. My youngest sister has Down syndrome, and I proudly serve on that board today. He was even honored as a Best Reston recipient, a community award recognizing those who have gone above and beyond to give back. And years later, I had the privilege of receiving the same honor. It was such a full circle moment for me. And because, yes, I'm following his footsteps, and everything I do with the Why Not today is rooted in his example of service, leadership, and courage. So, what's next for the podcast? In the early days of the podcast, when I just started, I focused on sharing stories of courage. And literally, if you walked by me and you said you'd done something courageous, I interviewed you. Well, 3 years later, I still love that. But over the past years, I've realized something. People aren't just inspired by stories, they want support. They need tools, they need real life roadmaps on how to move forward. So, this podcast is growing with me. Moving forward, we'll still talk about courage, but now we're going to go deeper. Each week, I'll either be sharing a solo episode with practical tips and hosting guests who are not just sharing their story, but breaking down, what gave them the courage to start? What almost stopped them? What do they wish they would have known? And what are they glad they didn't know? And where are they now? And we're going to talk about the messy middle, the ups, the downs, because owning your own business is not a straight line from start to finish. And what I've found in interviewing so many people, and we are 100 and some episodes in 3 years, is that people's story, where they start and where they finish, are completely different. There's a story behind a story, and there's ups and downs, and we're going to talk about those and the bumps to give people courage, hope, and permission, and then also tools. So in my clarity weekend, we did it kind of niche down what I am doing, and it kept coming up that yes, I have 30 years experience in a direct selling business and have been successful, was able to leave corporate America 25 years ago to pursue this full time. And so people, Sam especially, kept coming back to, I had to bootstrap it. I had to work hard. And so she came up with this, not just why not today, like getting started, but how do you fund it? And so that's where my coaching framework is going to evolve to grow with. And because the truth is, starting a business, a project, a new chapter isn't just about courage. It's about knowing what to do and how to fund it. And fund is an acronym, and it's going to be based on the fundamentals. And so, yes, fund has something to do with finance, but it's also faith. You need to understand your numbers. But more importantly, you need to believe in your mission. This is where faith comes in. You have to trust that you're building something that matters. I know that I know that I know that Why Not Today is a message that needs to be shared. And I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go, but I know that it's something that needs to be shared. And so the finances also are, where do you get funding for your business? Are you just going to build it by selling one product at a time or one service at a time? That's how I grew my Mary Kay business, one face, one skincare set at a time. Or there's opportunities to get funding and sources, and it doesn't have to be direct funding. Like I was blessed to get a grant from Fairfax County, and I'm getting some work, going to do some work with students at Virginia Tech. So sometimes it's not just the money, but um, from other sources, but how are you going to make sales? And um, yeah, get those sales, start making money. And then you is and fund unique proposition. And that's you. This is about getting clear on what makes you different and why somebody should choose you. Your own voice. We all have our own value, and we need to be unapologetically ourselves and share what we have. And we are all unique. And it's funny, the word unique, I still remember being in elementary school and the word being on the wall. And I was like, what does unique mean? And so that word has always just kind of stuck with me. But we have to be unique. So, yes, there's lots of coaches, and yes, there's lots of people doing marketing, all the things, but what makes you different? And we all have something different because we're bringing us to the table. And as for networking, nurturing, you can't do this alone. The right connections can open doors, give support, and spark collaborations. You also have to nurture relationships because people do business with people they trust. We have to build that know, like, and trust. So we're going to talk about networking. How do you meet the people? How do you grow your business? How do you talk to people? There's so many ways to communicate these days. So we're going to dive deep into that. And then also, part of owning your own business is it can be lonely. And so where's your support network? And that's what the Why Not Today community is going to be there to focus on and help support as we go forward. And so give you tools and build that community for you, your tribe, as we say. I had that in my 30-year career, and I still have it there. And people you can call, give feedback, and the questions that are, or people that are there to answer questions. And when things aren't going so well, people you can reach up to, reach down to, and get support. And then D is discipline, determination, and daily action. Isn't that key? And that's a secret to momentum. It's not about waiting for motivation. It's about showing up, even when it's hard. It's about taking tiny, consistent steps forward and not giving up. I know for me, I've been asked many times what was my key to success. And I would say it's consistency. I did not quit. I kept doing the things. And sometimes it didn't work out exactly as I hoped, but the little steps you make are not for naught, and they definitely grow. So what's coming next? I'll be teaching live workshops once a month on how to get your idea off the ground, how to fund it, how to build a tribe around you, lots of subjects around that. And there's going to, around the fun principles together, but also systems. I think that is one of my superpowers. I have my systems cape on. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she says, your brain thinks different than anybody else. And it just comes naturally to me. Another friend of mine said I was a natural systematizer. So I'm going to teach you some systems to help you to grow your business and make things easier. So we're not recreating the wheel. A good friend of mine, and I always say that if you do something twice, it needs to be a system. So I'll also be sharing more about the Courage coaching programs, group sessions, and how to get involved in the Why Not Today Courage community. I have something really exciting coming out. I don't know when you're listening to this, and maybe you're listen to it 5 years from now and it's already been growing. But we're going to create a Why Not Today Courage community group to support each other and be accountable and have your own tribe. So working on that. So if you're interested, let me know. We will talk about that. So if you've got a someday dream that won't leave you alone, if you've been sitting on an idea or wondering if is it too late to start, I'm here to tell you it's not too late. It's just time. So if today's message resonated with you, here's what you can do. One, join the um, Why Not Today Courage Community Group on Facebook. And that's going to be a place we're going to have live training and maybe some experts, um, things to help you, some systems, some tricks, some tips. Book a free clarity call with me and let's see what's next, see how I can support you. Share this podcast with a friend who's been asking, what now? And stay tuned because we're just getting started. So as we close, I thought, my favorite number is 3. So I thought every episode, I don't know if it's going to be beginning or end, I'm going to get 3 tips from Leslie. So for me today, one would be a book. And I would highly recommend the book I started talking about in the beginning is From Strength to Strength with Arthur Brooks. And I've been listening to the book, good input, or just listen to a podcast about them. That's kind of a trick I do is I will listen, like if somebody recommends a book, I will go see if there's a podcast with that author first to see what they say and if it's something that resonates with me. A podcast I've been listening to is from a new friend that recommends Asian productivity. Gosh, I should have written this down. I think it's Asian Productivity System. If you can't find it, let me know. And it's 2 guys that just talk about productivity hacks and things. And I've learned a lot from there. And then finally, I'm going to give, because we're all circling in this right now, is a Chat GPT or an AI tip. And my newest tip this week that I've been using is instead of going to Google with a question, you can use chat to come up with text and all those things, but what about those technical questions? So a lot of times I would go to Google, like the issue I had yesterday is I've got 2 email addresses and 2 calendars and they're getting confusing. So I said, how could I combine them? If I went to Google, it would first give me ads of all the companies that could teach me how to do it, all the other calendar things, but I went to chat and it gave me specific instructions on exactly how to do it. So it grabs information from all over. So those are my 3 tips. The book is Strength to Strength by Arthur Brooks. The podcast is Asian Productivity, I think it's System. And then the third is my AI tip is if you've got technical questions, put it in there. So final thought before I leave you with this is don't spend your later years trying to be who you were. Be fully who you are becoming. And that's from Arthur Brooks. So thank you very much for listening. for being a part of the Why Not Today community. If this episode gave you clarity, encouragement, or practical idea you can use, I'd love to hear about it. If you're ready to take the next step in your business or life, I offer complimentary coaching sessions to help you get focused, take action, and move forward with confidence. You can book your free session and hear about all that's going on with Why Not Today at whynotTodayMovement.com. And this podcast is your bridge from inspiration to action. And I'm here to walk you with you every step of the way. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a friend, leave a review, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another moment of courage. And remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take one brave step. And why not today? Thanks again for listening or watching.